Nada queda en pie. Se deslizan los cerros.
¡Maremoto! El mar se recoge y arrasa con todo. Desaparecen pueblos.
El ingeniero Raúl Sáez y sus hombres evitan la tragedia.
At 3:11 p.m. on May 22nd, 1960, the ground beneath Chile began to shake with a violence that had never been recorded in human history. For 11 terrifying minutes, the most powerful earthquake ever measured tore through the country with the force of 25,000 nuclear bombs detonating simultaneously. But this wasn't just Chile's disaster. Within hours, killer waves would race across the Pacific Ocean at jet plane speeds, claiming lives in Hawaii, Japan, and the Philippines. This is the story of the day the Earth rang like a bell and changed earthquake science forever. The numbers are staggering. Magnitude 9.5, a measurement so extreme that seismologists initially struggled to believe their instruments. In Chile alone, over 1,600 people died, 3,000 were injured, and 2 million, nearly a quarter of the entire population, were left homeless. Entire cities like Valdivia were reduced to rubble. The economic damage reached $500 million in 1960 money, equivalent to over $5 billion today. But the destruction didn't stop at Chile's borders. The earthquake generated tsunamis that killed over 200 people across the Pacific Rim and caused hundreds of millions in additional damage. For the first time in history, a single geological event had truly global consequences. Our story actually begins the day before, on May 21st. A massive 8.1 earthquake struck the city of Concepcion, killing 169 people and leaving the country in mourning. What nobody realized was that this was just the opening act. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, two massive pieces of the Earth's crust, the Nazca Plate and the South American Plate, had been locked in a deadly embrace for decades. The oceanic Nazca Plate was slowly diving beneath South America at about 6 to 8 centimeters per year, but friction had caused them to stick together, building up enormous pressure. Then at 3:11 p.m. on May 22nd, that pressure finally found its release. Along a fault line stretching nearly 600 miles, longer than the distance from New York to Detroit, the plate suddenly lurched free. Eyewitnesses described the ground rolling like ocean waves, buildings swaying like trees in a hurricane, and a sound like thunder that wouldn't stop. The Earth was moving so violently that we couldn't stand up, one survivor recalled. It felt like the world was ending. For 11 minutes, an eternity during an earthquake, the shaking continued. Those who lived through it said it felt like hours. In Valdivia, the epicenter city, nearly half of all buildings became uninhabitable. Bridges twisted like pretzels, roads cracked open. But the earthquake itself was only the beginning of the nightmare. When the plates finally broke free, a section of the ocean floor the size of California suddenly jumped upward by about 20 feet. This massive displacement pushed billions of tons of seawater upward, creating waves that would soon race across the Pacific at speeds of up to 500 miles per hour. Just 15 minutes after the earthquake, tsunamis up to 80 feet high, taller than a 6-story building, began slamming into Chile's coast. Entire coastal towns were swept away in minutes. The waves penetrated miles inland, carrying away everything in their path. But these waves didn't stop at Chile's shores. Racing across the Pacific Ocean, they maintained their deadly power across thousands of miles of open water. The physics are terrifying. In deep ocean, tsunamis can travel as fast as commercial jets while remaining nearly invisible on the surface. 15 hours after the earthquake, residents of Hilo, Hawaii, over 6,000 miles away, watched in horror as 35-foot waves crashed into their city. Despite some warning, 61 people died and over 1,600 homes were destroyed. The waves bent parking meters to the ground, and tossed cars like toys. 22 hours after the Chilean earthquake, 18-foot waves struck Japan's coast. By then, the waves had traveled nearly 11,000 miles, yet they still packed enough power to kill 138 people and destroy over 1,600 homes. The tsunami had literally circled half the globe while maintaining its destructive force. The Philippines lost 32 people. Even California's coast, protected by the angle at which the waves approached, still suffered significant damage to boats and harbors in Los Angeles, San Diego, and Long Beach. What made this earthquake historically unique was that it occurred just as the world was installing a new network of seismographic stations to monitor nuclear testing during the Cold War. For the first time, scientists could track a major earthquake's effects in real time around the entire globe. The data revealed something extraordinary. The earthquake had literally made the entire planet ring like a bell, with vibrations continuing for days. Scientists calculated that this single event released about 25% of all the seismic energy that would be released worldwide during the entire 20th century. To put this in perspective, the 1960 Chile earthquake was roughly 1,000 times more powerful than the 1989 San Francisco earthquake that collapsed the Bay Bridge. It was 10 times stronger than the 1906 San Francisco earthquake that devastated that city. The energy released was equivalent to 25,000 nuclear bombs, more explosive power than the entire world's nuclear arsenal at the time. Yet this incredible force came not from human technology, but from the slow, inexorable movement of tectonic plates that had been building pressure for decades. The earthquake's power was so immense that it even triggered volcanic activity. Just 38 hours later, the Cordon Col volcano, dormant for nearly 40 years, suddenly erupted. Scientists believe the massive crustal movement destabilized the magma chamber, providing a dramatic example of how major earthquakes can trigger secondary disasters. Chile sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where about 90% of the world's earthquakes occur. The country's unique geography, a narrow strip between the Andes Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, makes it particularly vulnerable to seismic activity. But even by Chilean standards, the 1960 earthquake was unprecedented. While more recent earthquakes have caused greater loss of life due to population density, like the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that killed over 225,000 people, or the 2010 Haiti earthquake that killed over 300,000, none have matched the raw geological power of the 1960 Chile event. The 1960 disaster fundamentally changed how the world prepares for tsunamis. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, established in Honolulu in 1965, now monitors seismic activity 24/7 and can issue warnings within minutes of a major earthquake. This system has saved countless lives in subsequent disasters. Chile completely overhauled its building codes after 1960, requiring structures to withstand much stronger seismic forces. These improvements proved their worth during the 2010 Chilean earthquake, magnitude 8.8, yet with far fewer casualties relative to its strength. Today's global seismic monitoring network can detect and analyze earthquakes within minutes, providing crucial data for both immediate emergency response and long-term scientific understanding. The 1960 earthquake provided the first comprehensive dataset of a mega-earthquake's global effects. Scientists now understand that the type of mega-earthquake that struck Chile in 1960 occurs roughly every 300 to 500 years along major subduction zones. This knowledge helps communities prepare for future events, though predicting exactly when they'll occur remains impossible. Chile has not only rebuilt, but has become one of Latin America's most prosperous nations, in part because the lessons learned from 1960 created a culture of preparedness and resilience. The country now serves as a model for earthquake preparedness worldwide. The 1960 Chile earthquake stands as a stark reminder of our planet's incredible power and the interconnected nature of our modern world. In an age of global communication and travel, natural disasters anywhere can affect people everywhere. But it also demonstrates humanity's capacity to learn, adapt, and build back stronger. Today, as we face increasing natural disasters due to climate change and growing populations in vulnerable areas, the lessons of May 22, 1960 remain more relevant than ever. Preparation saves lives. International cooperation is essential, and understanding our planet's forces is crucial for our survival. The 1960 Chile earthquake changed everything we know about mega disasters and global preparedness. But what would happen if a similar earthquake struck today? The next potential megaquake that scientists are watching for could be even more devastating in our interconnected world.
El desagüe del lago Riñihue amenaza con inundar Valdivia. Tras 2 meses de trabajo,